One. Welcome to Men Are the Prize, the podcast. Again, I am lucky every week to get a man on here to talk about life and our struggles and our issues. And this week, Dan Reeves is on here with us. How you doing today, Dan?
I am doing super fantastic today.
Excellent, excellent. Your story is a great one, and I feel like through us talking, we get to hear about it. And like I mentioned earlier, I think your story is going to be really inspiring, really good for people to hear. Before we get to it, here's some info for you about me. I am an expert in one thing, and that is being me. So this podcast is an opportunity for men to just talk about being a man, our struggles, life, our ups, downs, our struggles, our triumphs, everything that's happened. This is an opportunity to communicate. And I hope with this communication that you hear, it'll lead to good things for you. But if it leads to bad things and you need to talk to somebody, please take this opportunity to find somebody who's trained, a friend, anyone to talk to about your issues. I am not trained. I can't diagnose. All I can do is talk with somebody. But if it leads you to talking to somebody and doing something we men don't typically do, which is open up and talk about our issues, then it's been a successful episode. So again, hopefully we lead to something good, but if it leads to something bad, find somebody who can help you out. And with that said, it's time to get started. Dan, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. One of the things is that I found myself pinched trying to compress the important points into a timeline, but my story is one of chemical dependency, addiction, substance abuse. I grew up as I had nothing sitting around me that would lead people to believe I was going down that path. There's certain people and there's certain, a rough childhood, mediocre or less parenting, none of that kind of stuff really was in my past, but nonetheless I had that thing that most a lot of people talk about is that feeling of being outside the circle. I never felt like, I was always trying to like be in, as I know that's part of why I was wanting to join sports teams, is because I wanted to be part of something, part of the group, and drugs and booze is what opened that door for me at a young age. And, you'd never think that, at whatever it was, 12, 13, 14 years old, when I first started playing with that stuff, that my eventual, where that was going to end up leading me. It's just it was all fun and games. But, I had a really, everything was really, really normal. I mean, graduated high school, started going to college, got a good job. They started promoting me past my thoughts of needing any more college. These people are paying me enough. Why do I need to, why do I need to go to school? That was like, all right, I'm off the hook on that. And, got married to a beautiful woman, had two beautiful children, had a big, nice house, 2 cars in the garage, a growing 401k fund, and I drank a few beers at night, and I like to smoke a little weed now and then. But I did dabble, and from the time I was young, I would dabble in the harder stuff here and there, but it never really was something that I was doing on a regular basis. The alcohol did start running away with me. And I realized, and I can only see this stuff in the rearview mirror. I cannot see it like as I'm doing it, so it wasn't like I'm walking down this path knowing what I'm doing. But as the quantities of beer it took to get where I needed to be day after day grew, I was come home and drink a couple, one grill and out, and maybe another one or something before, as the night went on, all of a sudden I just found out, I'm drinking 12 beers a night. I come home from work and I'm knocking down 12 and I'm really not really feeling all that, I mean, it seems normal. But as with most alcoholics, at one point that substance was the solution, right? It was what actually helped me get by the day and dump the stress from the work day, or, allowed me to let loose on Saturday night. It was actually a solution for something. It ended up stopping working. And when it stopped working, my mom had a back surgery, and she was always like a hypochondriac. She had a lot of, and I don't know if that's really the right term or not, but she was always in a hospital and always having something done. And I come by here one day to pick up my kids, and she had I was walking around the house, had 3 or 4 beers in me, from work to her house. And, and I, and the alcohol wasn't working. And I found, I walked pacing this house and I found, her 2 bottles of prescription medication were sitting beside her bed. And I just, for who knows, I can remember doing it, but I went over and I picked them up and I read them, and both of them said for pain. And there was one thing I did know: I had pain. That was what I had at the moment. And so I shook out a couple of those pills each and put them in my pocket. Actually, I took the 2 big ones and put the 2 little ones in my pocket. And then once again, just like when I was 12 or 13 years old and first found alcohol in that and making my life, all of a sudden I found the golden key again, and I was working. Life was okay again. Just like in 30 minutes from the time of taking those 2 pills, life was okay. But I didn't know that slippery. You certainly don't see that where the path that's what's the slippery slope that you're standing at. And, I ended up taking those pills from my mom all the time. There's no joke around the recovery circles about I'll steal your drugs and help you look for them. And, and I did that with my mom. I would take her drugs and she would call me up and tell me they're missing. And I'd come over here and brainstorm with her. And I say over here because I have since bought my parents' house. So I live in the same home as what I grew up in.
Okay.
So that's why the here thing is going on.
Mhm.
But I would go to my mom's and sit down and we would think about who might have stole her pills, and when I couldn't get them from her, so she started locking them up. Most people go to the black market and go out buying them on the streets. I don't know why I would say that, I was too scared to do that. So instead, what I did, if I visited you and checked out your medicine cabinet, people had them everywhere, everywhere I went. So I cleaned out my aunts and uncles and my grandparents and your aunts and uncles and anywhere I went. And eventually that wasn't sustaining it either. And I started breaking in houses. And, to think about the fact that I was doing that, like I said, I had a job at that point I'd held for over 20 years. I was an engineer at a place here in Louisville, Kentucky. And, everything around me looked nice and shiny, but inside I was dead. And I was walking around at night, breaking in houses, whether he was home or not. And it really blows me away to think back at like how successful I was at doing that. But as with all things, that came to an end. And there was a guy across the street, an old guy that I was like I could always go over there and get something. And I used him like as a safety valve. When I couldn't get him anyplace else, he was my safety valve. And I went over there one night and snuck in his house, their home. He's watching TV. I walk right in his bedroom and watching him sleep there and reach in his dresser drawer and grab the pills and shake them out. And I turned around and his 50-something-year-old son was standing there with pepper spray and a ball bat. He hit me right in the eyes with the pepper spray, started laying into me with that ball bat. I busted past him and got out of the house. He thought that maybe, he knew who I was. And the twist to this is that he had caught me doing the same thing 6 months earlier. And I was one of my trips to rehab. I had multiple little 1-week trips to rehab and trying and, with all my heart, really trying to get better. But, I'd fall back into my own old patterns again. That ended up resulting in some felony charges of burglary. And I remember going down in front of the judge here in New Albany, and he said the crime I had committed is punishable by 6 to 20 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections. Now, looking back, I don't really think they'd ever gave me that. But at the time, the judge, the prosecutor, my lawyer, all had me convinced that could be a reality. And it set for a long time on they come down to that minimum sentence of 6 years. And I had guys telling me, don't worry about it, brother. In Indiana, you only serve 3. And my life up to then, I am not looking to go to prison. And that begins the thoughts of like, how did I get out of that? Suicide and stuff like that start crossing your mind. And man, I was in the darkest spot. By that point, in 2011, I had made my first real run at getting sober. I put together a year of sobriety. My life could never be better, and it relapsed. And my wife at that point was like, no more. And so I gave, my mouth wants to say that I lost my marriage, but what I did, I wholesale gave it away. I traded it off. I didn't lose anything. I gave it away. And so by now I'm divorced. My kids can't come stay the night with me because of the things I'm doing. I can't be trusted. Everything is just completely collapsing around me. My mom is sick and appears to be passing away, which she did eventually. Just life was in a real dark spot, man. And I describe it like this, I was in a painted black, inside a cardboard box that had been painted black, and I couldn't see anything. But there was one little speck down in the corner, a little pinhole, and that was some guys offering me the 12 steps to Alcoholics Anonymous. And although I did not think they would work, it was the only hole of light in the box. I ran into a particular guy, and I say a couple of things when I speak, about this, that we have a whole lot of cliches in 12-step recovery. And one of them is keep coming back. And, it's like, oh yeah, keep coming back, and and you get a little worn out on the little slogans and stuff, but I'm definitely a product of keep coming back, because I kept on going back to that over and over and over again. They say, keep coming back until the miracle happens. And, there's an age-old quote, like you have, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? And at that time I had that sufficient dose of desperation that seems to be necessary in order for one to recover from addiction and alcoholism. And I met the right guy. And I know I did today. And again, this is looking in the rearview mirror. I pushed all my chips to the middle of the table. And I just said, okay, let's just do this 12-step thing as hard as I can do it, because most any other problem I had in my life or any other challenge, my own willpower, my go get it would make it happen. I could achieve anything I wanted to achieve, but I couldn't beat this thing. And so I gave 12 steps my all, and ended up for reasons that I don't understand today. I have what in my phone. I started it on paper, was what I call my miracle list. And some really funny stuff started happening. I was out of the blue, my sponsor said, why don't you ask them for home incarceration again? And I said, Christopher, I have asked for home incarceration a bunch of times. They told me you can't do home incarceration in that house because you was breaking into that house, the one across the street. And all my neighbors, I was persona non grata. They were going down talking to the prosecutor and wanting me to be to serve some time. I'd violated the neighborhood security. I was a danger, no doubt. I understand them seeing me that way. And I asked one more time, and for whatever reason, when I started, and I've seen this happen over and over again, when a guy or gal, my frame of reference is guys, so I'll say that, but the same thing goes with gals. When they turn their nose into that wind of 12 steps, when they start heading down that path and actually their lives will start changing right then, and things will start happening for them. And, and when I took those steps to do that, magically from 6 years in prison, they're entertaining me doing home incarceration. And I don't know how that happens. And then they wouldn't let me do home incarceration here. So I worked a deal. I thought about going to a men's recovery house or something like that. And I worked a deal with them that I would move in with my mom and dad and here I'm 45 years old. I'm gonna move back in with mom and dad and do my home incarceration, because we come down to a deal that said a year of home incarceration, a year of probation, and then a third year on the shelf. That would be suspended if I successfully completed the other two things. And so they went for that. And the week before I was supposed to get, the formal sentencing and stuff, went over to my mom and dad's house to start cleaning up the third bedroom for me to move into. There was my mom again with the pills next to her, and she was having a struggle too. And my understanding was that she had gotten off of them. But when I went over that day, I could plainly see in her body language and stuff that she was not off of them. And I could see that prescription bottle sitting beside her. And there's been a few times in my life, and I can remember this over and over, of like this in my head. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But a bell went off, and I thought, yes, I do know what to do. You call your sponsor. And I simply called that other human being. And that was part of what you were saying earlier in the intro about talk to somebody. The value of that it cannot be overstated. Call somebody, talk to them, trained or not trained. there is some value of dumping that energy out of your body, and rather than what the male kind of thing is to stuff it down in there. So, you know, I called him, and he said, don't worry about it. We'll get you into a men's recovery center or something. We can't go back and change our deal. So you're just going to have to suck it up, buddy. And you're just going to have to do what you need to do. And we'll get you out of there as soon as we can. And we'll get you in some other place. And I went down to do that court hearing. He told me, and he said, what I want you to do, he said, this is going to allow you an opportunity to test your reliance on higher power. And at that time, I didn't know really what that language, what I really heard him say is I was going to have to test God. I was going to put God to the test, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm really up for that. And he said, was you up? What I would do is I'd pray all week like I'd never prayed before. He said, I'd simply pray for God to support your recovery. And I did that. And I did that like I meant it. And I went down to the downtown to go down and get my formal sentencing, and they take you back in this room and read the papers and sign them and everything. And then they take you out in front and do the court report recorded thing where they slam the gavel and all that. Well, they took me back there and I was reading this paper to see, and it said, you will serve a year of home incarceration and at the following address. And it had my home address on it. It did not have my mom and dad's address on it. And I remember that hit me like a gong, you know. They were adamant that I not do this here. But that piece of paper said my home address. And I'm wanting to tell them, and my head's spinning so fast that I can't even really process anything. I don't recall going out and being sentenced because I had this mistake that the state had made that I was going to have to rectify or whatever. And once again, I walked out of there, man, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I called my sponsor, and he started laughing. And I always hate it when he does that. Starts giggling, and he said, another little inside jokes we have. He said, you know what that is, don't you? And my mind wants to go, yeah, here, I know, you know, and like I will tell you the spiritual significance of this particular thing. I found out the right answer is no, sponsor, I don't know what that is. Why don't you tell me? And I had some friends in recovery tell me that this is a program of rigorous honesty. It does say that in our book. And they told me I should go down there and tell them that they'd made a mistake. My sponsors told me that that would be undoing God's work. And I served out that time. And, you know, I was going to a meeting a day. They let me go take my kids to where they needed to be. They let me go to work, and they let me go to recovery. That's the only thing I did for a year, you know. And when you can't leave the house, you go to a meeting every night. And I had this spiritual awakening, this psychic change that happens when we do the work that's prescribed in the 12 steps. And my life changed forever. And my purpose in my life today is to give that away, to continue to guide guys through. And we've got a program here in Louisville where we're offering the 12 steps to anybody. You don't have to be an alcoholic or an addict. And typically in 12-step circles, you don't cross the gender lines in sponsorship. And there's plenty of reasons we can all understand why that's may not be a good idea, but we didn't have any females had been through the program. So my sponsor and so I've sponsored some females too. And again, everybody that I see that truly turns their nose into the wind of the 12 steps and takes it seriously, their lives gets better. And that's what I do today. I handyman, and I got a little wood shop in my backyard. That you know, I was 4 years sober, and I lost that job I'd held for 28 years, you know, but it wasn't in my heart no more. You know, that wasn't working there was no longer in my heart. I was having trouble waking up in the morning, getting to work and all that. And the universe fixed it for me. And I got this little wood shop where I make custom wood work for people. And I go around town in a handyman, and those things keep the lights on and the insurance paid up and stuff like that. But my life today is walking people through these 12 steps and watching those lives change in the lives of the people around them too, because one of the biggest lies of the addict is that I'm not hurting anybody but myself. And actually just today, I never knew death like I've known death since coming into recovery. There's not a week that goes by that I don't know somebody that dies degree or two or three away from me. And just this morning, we've had a young guy in his middle 20s or something, just came back from like a 4-month out of state rehab. And by all accounts, and looking at him, he's doing great. And his dad found him dead in the bathroom this morning. And, the damage we do to our families when we choose to destroy ourselves with the dope and the booze is just, it's heartbreaking.
No doubt. Wow. Quite a bit
So
of
I just kind of
information.
vomited a whole bunch of stuff there.
Oh
But
no, you just
that's
wanted to
the
hide.
that's the quick and dirty of what got me to where I am today. And I've heard you talk with another gentleman and talking about the purpose of our life. What's your purpose? And it's part of the prize thing, right?
Right.
The P.
Yeah.
And I know the answer to that today, and that's one of the things the 12-step recovery gave me, is that I found my purpose in life. And I truly believe that today, now I don't know if this will be my purpose next week or in the next year, but I know right now my purpose is to carry this 12-step message with every drum I got. Holler from the mountaintops.
It's good. It's amazing. Sounds like it was a godsend. It was just the thing that you needed to kind of just get your life back together. And it's,
yeah. What you think is the worst thing ever ends up being the best thing ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's all about perspective. Yeah. When it's the thing you need, it comes at the right time. And that sounds like your story. You struggled, but you were saved. Things kind of dropped in. It's interesting to hear how things worked out for you. And I appreciate you getting right to the beginning of the P.R.I.Z.E thing, because you covered P. So we'll just skip on. The next letter in the word P.R.I.Z.E is resilience. And that is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. So obviously your story is quite intricate. Can you think of a particular situation where you really discovered how resilient you are, or you were?
There's quite an experience when they throw an ankle bracelet on you and you're going to have to wear it for a year. The amount of freedom you lose, even though it's a lot better than going to prison.
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to do that. I back then when it was coming, I had no idea how I was going to be able to. One thing is that ankle bracelet costs $100 a week to wear it. So not only my freedom's being stomped on, I had to, make sure I had that extra $100 a week to wear it. And time after time, for me, resilience and the strength to go on and is rooted in our one day at a time living. Anytime I'm either in the past or in the future, I'm in places that don't do me any good. I drive some people nuts around me with my, what are you doing tomorrow? I don't know. I kind of have a little schedule of stuff. I know whose house I do a lot of handyman work. So I've got a little bit of lined up work going out like that. But I really take this day at a time living seriously. And, the question, sometimes it comes down to this, am I okay right now? Yep. Roof's not leaking. Heat's on. I could tell. Right now, nobody's knocking on the door wanting money. I'm okay right now. Okay. Well, that's all you need to be. Just be okay right now. And we'll worry about tomorrow. Another biblical, I'm not a big Bible guy at any level, not at all. But this awakening of my spirit that has happened has made me receptive to all these teachings that I used to reject.
Yeah, I'm blown away. This is so interesting. So resilience, you covered that. So since we kind of skipped it real quick, P.R.I.Z.E is kind of this mantra I kind of came up with, P.R.I.Z.E. P and R so far we've done. I skipped the I because it's the end of kind of this mantra for me. We go to Z, and that represents the word zeal, which is enthusiastic devotion. And I kind of feel like you've answered it already, but I want to hear it again. What are you enthusiastically devoted to?
There's absolutely not a single thing in my life that brings more joy in my life than watching a man transform from being this burden on his family to turning around and working through this and become what happens when that happens. It's like taking a diamond out of the dirt and polishing it. And I take no credit for it. I just know the process. I just take a man through the process. It's not me. It's not Dan. I had to always remember that it's not me doing this. It's this power greater than myself, whatever you want to call that is, and part of that greater power is this thing called the 12 steps. But, today I walk through life somewhat childish, and that's one of the things that we talk about is getting back to that. When you and I or anybody else was 3 years old, and we had no cares in the world. If we was hungry, we let everybody know about it. If we was, we didn't have any problem speaking up for ourselves. We were happy, joyous, and free. And our spirits get stepped on by various things that happen in life, whether if it's through divorce of your parents, losing pets, bullied at school, ad infinitum, it just goes on infinitum. It just goes on and on to the things that can step on our spirit, and we become something that is not us anymore. And this 12 steps allowed me to get back to me. And today I actually like visualize myself as I move through life, peeking around the corners with a smile on my face about what might be happening next. What kind of cool thing, what kind of miracle is going to come across the table next. And to have that you said perspective earlier, to walk through life, a lot of life in my opinion is how I view it in the way I see it, and if I think I'm going to run into trouble all the time, I will. And if I think there's going to be some really cool, happy stuff and, not good things around the corner, and it's somewhat of a, the power of positive thinking and this whole idea. And I don't know about all this. It's just New Albany, Indiana, Dan Reeves thoughts on how he sees this is that, that there is some manifesting going on, and we can, I maybe can't manifest a lottery ticket. I don't think I can go that far, but I can manifest a happy, satisfying life by expecting it to be happy and satisfying.
It's like you're working right with me. The next letter is E and the word is expectation. It's like you're leading me down this path, like you've done this before. But I'm going to change the question a little bit just because of what you've been talking about. So expectation is a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. What I've been asking my guests is, what do they expect from themselves or for themselves in 1 year, in 5 years, and in 10 years? But just based on what you're talking about, you were very much, micromanage is the wrong word. You're day to day. I'm going to live today, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. So my question is this: what do you expect of yourself every day?
Boy, every day, seems there's a certain attributes a human must have in their life in order to have that. I like the word satisfying life. I don't know if happiness is, can be expected all the time. But to have a life that is satisfying, and I don't mean that mediocre, like satisfied, like settling. I mean, truly like the good end of the scale, satisfying life is that one must be in service to our brothers and sisters, and without any expectation of anything coming about. So, every day I keep my eyes open for who I can help and where I can do that. That's really my main goal when I wake up in the morning and pray to this God I don't understand. I ask to be shown who I can help. And so from a standpoint of like, what do I expect every day is I expect to get up, and it's interesting because I found myself in this handyman business, and, that's what I do. I get to, you can't believe how happy people are when you fix their stuff.
I know the feeling.
And it's interesting, like, again, how this, when you begin to like move it, your trajectory becomes in the right direction. I call it, like, I'm also a registered yoga teacher, and we talk about a lot about being in true north alignment. Part of a lot of yoga is alignment. And when I'm in alignment with my internal compass pointing true north, and I'm where they have that internal feeling that you're where you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And, and when we hit that, some people call it the flow state, there's some of that involved in there. But how I got landed, the next thing you know, because I never had, I just know how to fix stuff. My dad taught me how to do this stuff. I didn't ever have any plans to be doing this. A realtor friend of mine called one day and wanted to know if I could fix something so she could get this house sold. And I wasn't working. So I went over and did it. And then another one called, another one. And the next thing you know, I've got a business going. So I found myself in an occupation where I get to do the same thing. Now we're trading that for money in this case. I think there needs to be some of that in a person's life that is not for money. I think we have, in order to have that satisfying life, we must be doing some kind of service with nothing, no expectations in return on that. But I also have, I have goals. And so I had to pull back and, that day and time living, it only goes so far. I envision myself being full-time employed as I sunset. I'm 52 years old. I still got quite a bit of time. I'm not looking at the end, but I do have some dreams of sunsetting, of waking up in the morning, making coffee and go out there and sit in that wood shop and make wood, make wood furniture, wood art, and have that be my retirement plan, and I think it's going that way because in the beginning, my woodwork was maybe 10% of my income and 90% was handyman. And, it's coming up to close to even, maybe 60-40 today. And, and so it's heading that way, and I can be looking forward to the future today. That's something too, that even though with this day and time living, I'm excited about what the universe will bring into my life. I'll end on the expectation thing though, because it's like a dirty word in 12 steps.
Okay.
There's a thought and there's no black and white, right? It's always someplace in between, some shade of gray, with that same thing with the word. But a lot of people will say expectation is a resentment in process or something. So if I expect stuff, I got to be careful expecting things out of people, like expecting that my family members will be certain people, because it'll end up being where I get let down. When I start setting up expectations, I can end up getting hurt with that. So that's behind that resentment expectation comment.
It's an interesting way of looking at it. Again, perspective.
Yeah.
That word can mean so many different things to different people. And then obviously with the 12 step, it has a different definition. But can I ask, and I don't know, strange question, but I don't know, I'm interested to hear your answer. Obviously, your life took quite a turn with your addiction. If you could go back in time, would you change anything?
Not a thing. Like I'm a felon now. I actually did have to plead to a felony. Also a big firearms enthusiast. Well, there went that. Now I have an expectation, because in the state of Indiana, when you've been good boy for 8 years, you can apply to have that overturned. And I expect in January, I just celebrated 7 years. So in another year, I'll be able to go do that. But there's a lot of I don't know if it's quotes or writings about what pressure does to create diamonds, and how pressure is what it takes to do stuff. We had the Joseph Campbell's hero story thing. I have to go out and fight the dragon in order to move to the next level, almost like a video game, to continue to level up. So we have to have these stressful moments in our lives in order to grow. It's kind of like one of the things that we talk about, like some people on raising children. You put too much insulation around a child as you raise them. You don't allow them to have any hurt or any stress and stuff. And then all of a sudden they pop out as a so-called adult in the real world. And, they're crushed because of not having had not having grown through the hard stuff. So, there's a piece of me that says I would like to not have, boy, I wished I hadn't started all that alcohol and dope stuff, because it really did man, it sure put my life for 30 years on a pretty rough trajectory to where I landed. But what I have in my life today is a result of that. So no, I'll stay. I will hold and stay where I'm at. I won't change a thing.
Understood. I hear you. So the prize, obviously, the purpose, resilience, zeal, and expectation for the letters, but it leads to the final, which is the I. So the way I kind of go about it is this. As men, obviously we have our different experiences, different issues, but we all have these expectations, these titles that that are just thrown on us, that are thrust upon us. We're dad, we're husband, we're best friend, we're employee, we're all these things. And we rarely get a chance to be just us, because we're being these other things, we're doing these other things, because in a lot of cases, we just have to. That's life. That's what being a man is. But I want to ask you, if we can take all these titles, all these expectations off of you, and it's just you at your base without anything else stopping you or anything else holding you up, who are you?
That's a tough question. We use that in that, like one of the metaphors to that is like the masks we wear in our different roles of our lives, and when I'm at work, I have to play engineer. And when I'm at home, I play husband and father. And like I have parts to play. Boy. When we're doing this 12-step stuff, and as I said earlier, trying to get back to our true selves, find our true voice, when I'm in my true north. Today, I really do believe that I am the authentic Dan. I think I've actually been able to finally remove all the masks and just be me, and you can like me or don't like me. And I can stand up and say stuff. And a lot of people kind of look at me funny when I say some of the things I say. But today I can be me. There's probably two places, and if I like, because these are masks too, right? To some extent. And I will add three, man. When I'm sitting with an alcoholic and we're going through that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm passing on what was so freely given to me, I am where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I feel exactly where I need to be. When I'm sitting out there in that wood shop and creating some kind of piece of wood, and sawdust is every place, and it's in my hair, and it's 2:00 in the morning because I couldn't stop. I'm working on some project and I can't stop. I just got finished. There's not going to be a finish, but I'm 90% finished with like my woodworker's wood bench. It's like a dream. I've been designing it on CAD for a while, and I finally ended up deciding that the wintertime gets a little slow between Christmas and really between Christmas and when people start getting their tax returns or tax refunds, it gets a little slow in the handyman world. And so I took that opportunity to build that, and I would be out there building that bench until, and it's like I took every feature of every woodworking bench I've seen and built Dan's workbench. My extreme workbench has got 3.5 inch thick solid maple top. And when I'm out there doing that, I'm where I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I feel that. And probably the third place is in the woods. I like one of your last guests, Mike, and that's how he and I met, was that, people would like to say, I'll hear this said, Dan's a big time hunter. And, I do a lot of hunting and hardly any killing, but I don't have any problem with killing. That's not, it's just, there's a maturation process, and people write about it, as you go through doing that. But when I am in the middle of the Hoosier National Forest and nobody's around, and I can just sit and melt into the forest and watch God's creatures do what they do, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And those three spots, man, are the places where I truly feel home. Helping other alcoholics, sitting out there in that wood bench, or sitting out in the middle of the woods someplace. Fortunate to have, we've got 54 acres out in Orange County, Indiana, that joins Hoosier National Forest. So we've got thousands of acres out there. And when I was a year sober, the men's group I was part of was going to have a day-long retreat, and it was across the county line where they'd let me go, so I couldn't go. The ankle bracelet, I even went and asked. I was like, "It's recovery," and it's like, "Nope, can't go across that county line." Nope. Okay, well, they had some trouble with it because people were like, and they didn't mean to be, but people were walking through their stuff, and it's a public place, so
Right.
some of the stuff we're doing in 12-step stuff is getting vulnerable with one another, and if there's people overhearing what you're talking about, it's makes people tough to let go of what's going on. And so I said, hey, I got a piece of property out in the country. But do y'all want to do that? So I hold a men's retreat out there. For the first few years, I did twice a year, but that was getting to be a little much. But I hold this men's retreat out there, and we get 20, 25 guys to go out and spend the weekend and talk recovery. And I try to gather up some of the healing type tools that are, as I said before I got on here, if you're not looking in the right direction, you can seem to think the world is going into the toilet. And I don't know if that's supposed to be, if that's the way, some people would say, that's the distraction they're trying to give us. I don't know who they are, but fact is there's a whole lot of people putting a whole lot of good out into the universe, just like you, just like Mike, what I hope I'm doing too. And if I keep my focus into those places, my outlook on the future gets a lot better. And getting to go out there and do that stuff like that, holding that men's retreat and taking tools that I learned from people that are in the personal development community and passing along. And there's just nothing. There's a guy, Johan Hari, says the opposite of addiction is connection. And, when I said to start this out and talked about wanting to be on a basketball team and, wanting to join the archery club and whatever else, the things that allow you to be a part of, we're all looking for like this tribe sort of thing. And that gets a little bit funny because there's some negative connotation being thrown around about the nationalism and tribal mentalities and stuff like that. But that's not the negative is not my thoughts here. But I have a group of men around me now, my Alcoholics Anonymous men's group, who are in such a positive vortex that if you walk into us, you can't help but feel it. We had birthday night Tuesday night where we celebrated a guy's 365 days, his first year, and a whole bunch of his family members come. And you can see the positivity from the men in my group wash over those people. You can see it. It changes them at night. They're different people when they walk out the door than when they walked in. And to be a part of that and have that community wrapped around me. And I just, man, it's on my podcast. One of the things I close my podcast with is if you're not having a blast in your recovery, it's your own damn fault because it's available. And man, life is good today.
That's good. And that's important. Life is good today. I like that. I mean, what I find interesting, and I have two more questions for you, but that camaraderie that you are lucky to be a part of, it's great that you have it. It kind of feels like you shouldn't have to have this circumstance to have it, though. Feels like that kind of camaraderie. Men, we should be connected like that just because we're men.
Yep.
Just because we're going through this life in this world and we have other issues, it's addiction or whatever, but to have that kind of connection, it would solve so many problems because we would just talk.
Yeah. It seems like that broken, like the old adage of like, it's the wound where the light shines in or gets in. I can't remember exactly how that goes, but
I know what you mean.
The brokenness of every one of us allowed us to come together, right? And for that event, that kind of thing. Now, I'm also part of another community that, golly, there's just so many good things I could be doing that I had to pick and choose, and everything can't be a yes today. I have to say no to some stuff, but I did get involved with a group called the Mankind Project.
Okay.
Have you heard
Tell
of
us
that?
about it. No, I haven't. Please talk about it.
It's just men getting together. When people ask me what it is, it's just a group of men helping other men be better men and dealing with men things. And there's pods of it all over the country and even in other countries and stuff too. So if you look up the Mankind Project and you're looking for some place to find this without having any qualifications like an addiction or that kind of thing, that group is standing there and it's fantastic. I mean, I went through an initiation weekend with them and I would, well, one thing about the 12 steps is like, we leak it out to you. It's kind of secret, and the magic of you not knowing what you're doing, but you're just following my directions. There's a thing of, there's an acronym people use for God called good orderly directions, GOD. Get some good orderly directions. And if you'll take those good orderly directions in the Mankind Project and just say, okay, I'm in, Get buckle up, Buttercup, because things are getting ready to get cool. I went on this initiation weekend, man, and I explained it because I can't really talk about it in detail because of what they did. And I don't want, we actually had to sign some papers that said we wouldn't leak that out. And I totally understand why, because it would stop people from coming. They go, I ain't doing that.
Right.
And B, it would lose some of the effectiveness if you knew what you were getting into. But it was like being picked up by an alien for the weekend. An alien ship picked me up, carried me off, did some things to me, and brought me back home on Sunday and dropped me on my couch, man. And it really was life-changing. It was a life-changing weekend. And those guys are doing that. They have weekly, some groups have different things, but like the average thing is to have a weekly meeting. And, that's what my men's home group does. My AA home group, we have a weekly meeting where we invite people to come, and we have a format, and it's organized, and they have this, and they have a lot of really cool processes that help you deal with life's problems. You got a place, there's this little thing, and I may be able to take credit for this, and most of everything I say I picked up from someplace else, so I do not I don't want to portray that I know this stuff. This is stuff I've been taught. But there's a thing where, like, I need to be able to discharge the negative energy of life to the universe through safe people, right? I have to be able to do that to safe people, because if you take your stuff to the wrong guy, you can get ridiculed. We probably, as young men, all had done that in some time of our life, where we shared and got vulnerable with somebody that we shouldn't have. And the next day at school, it's all over school. There's a sign hanging on your locker that says, guess what Dan did yesterday?
Definitely.
And we learned that we couldn't be open with other men. And that's what I learned as I grew up. I learned that it was not safe to be vulnerable with other men. And, and undoing that training that I got, that piece of that training, no different, I know I've been trained, that life trained me to have certain personality traits. It made me to where I knew better than to talk to another guy. It made me codependent, that needed a woman on my arm in order to feel like I was complete. If I didn't have a hostage, something, my life wasn't in the right direction. These things can allow you to untrain yourself. That's what the retrain my my very being. And that the man, now it just escaped me. The Man Project, right?
Mankind Project?
Mankind, that's what I was missing. Okay. The Mankind Project. Right. That's what they do. They have processes that allow you to come in, and they will ask, and they facilitate how to let this stuff go. And when you show up and you see another guy being vulnerable and not getting run through the ringer for it and getting to perceive with him, then that allows you the safety to come in next time and maybe get your thing out on the table, or what you're going through. And just like you said in the beginning of this, you got to have that. That's another one of these things for the satisfying life. You have to have a safe place you can go and discharge the negative energy of your life. You have to have some place to go ground yourself. And it seems to need to happen through our brothers in our case, and there's some value of a mixed thing, but men need to be able to go to places where men are at. And Mike was talking about that too. Hunting's kind of facilitates that in a sense, right? Because it's primarily a man thing. I don't want to get, it's not, there's women hunters and all that, definitely. But it allows it's a vehicle that allows men to get together and with people they feel safe with, because we don't go hunting with guys we don't feel safe with. And we can do that. And the Mankind Project is just a fantastic. I'm a big fan of it, and I wish I could devote more time to it. But I actually had an elder in the program tell me, and he pulled me aside one day and he said, here's what I believe the truth is. Are you willing to hear my truth? And I said, yeah. And he said, I think Dan is splitting his time and doing multiple things not as well as he could do one thing. So I believe that you need to, and he's, he did it in such a great way of truth speaking to one another. And that's something that really, really gets me. It's something about my sponsor. He will turn on a dime on me and he'll go, all right, Dan, I had to put my sponsor hat, because we've become best friends.
Right.
but he's still my sponsor, so
Right.
he will see something in me because I don't see me very well. I don't see me very well, and he sees me real well. He's kind of has a thermometer in my mouth all the time and can tell where Dan is at. And and that guy took me by the hand and said, think you need to, I think you need to do mankind, or you need to do 12 steps. And I think you're doing a disservice to yourself and to others by splitting your time between the two. So I took that advice, and I'm very glad the guy pulled me aside. And it took a lot of balls from him, didn't too. You don't know what kind of reaction he's going to get out of me when you,
Right.
when we can, another man thing is that, when we get criticized at any level or even perceived criticism, our defenses go up like, 0 to 60 in a minute,
Yes,
right? I mean, and we all feel it inside of us, whether if we actually outwardly do it, because I still feel it in me, my ability to respond to things today instead of react to them is another thing. That a miracle of this is being able to respond to these stimuli that hit me, and instead of doing my old reaction. And I very well could have took that man's words poorly, but he had a solid enough footing that he was willing to take that chance and speak his truth to me.
Good. I got so much from that. I am not a fan of guns. I have personal issues. I'm not a fan of them, but I can understand how you can find peace with hunting and the forest and stuff. But the idea of being safe hunting because you only hunt with people you feel safe with is a phenomenal comment. It's just interesting to me because a bunch of people running around with weapons, but I'm never so safe. I guess I'm just trying to get an idea of what you're saying. I don't feel as safe as I do when I'm with a bunch of people who've got guns, who are hunting, who are doing whatever. And I'm like, that's such an interesting thing. When you said that, I'm like, that's really good. I like that.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Mike too, and it's a kind of a oxymoron or whatever that, I feel safe in that situation, but I don't go hunting with guys I don't feel are safe people. Too much can go bad. There's too much. Too much, I don't invite the kind of shaky guy, the guy that worries you, wondering, I don't invite him to go hunting.
Right.
Now today I'm primarily a bow hunter because I cannot possess a firearm anymore. But I've always been pretty much a bow hunter since I was a kid. Even when my dad first started taking me hunting when I was a little guy, we started bow hunting. It was like years later that I heard some guys were hunting deer with a gun, and I was like, well, hold on, we can do that. That'd be a lot easier. I think there was also some safety stuff going on there, and why I was introduced to it through bow hunting. This little safer than opening day of firearm season in southern Indiana can be kind of exciting.
As I'm here and I'm thinking about this, being hunting or just doing anything outdoors with men who have weapons that, to me, I correlate that with only talking to men and opening up to men that you feel comfortable with. I feel like your emotions, what you're willing to release is your weapon that you're handing to somebody. And you're not going to just do that with anybody. Right. So being able to go and hunt with somebody with a gun because you trust them is tantamount to me opening up and talking with the man that I trust because I know what I'm giving them, they're not going to play with.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel that's what I really got from that. But I have two more questions. So you've had such an experience, such a life that has led to you where you are now, quite peaceful. That's the feeling I get from you. Two questions. One, what are you afraid of that you can't control?
I'm rooted in the big book, and the big book has a thing that says talks about fear, and there's a line that says the fabric of our existence is shot through with it, and that we're driven by fear. And for a lot of years, most of my decisions were based on fear. That was the driving force on if I took the left road or the right road in life, was what I was afraid might happen at the other one, not positive. I'll tell you what I fear. I fear my children taking the same path as I took, and there ain't a dang thing I can do about it.
Wow.
And I'm watching my daughter do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm not, you know, she's going to have her journey. And
Right.
we have another line in here that, and it's out of the big book too. And the big book is the AA's textbook, the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous. It says that an alcoholic armed with the facts about himself can help another alcoholic like no other can. And that armed with the facts, that's where, you know, I can go to bed at night and know that I have armed those children with the facts and
And
that
that's the
they
best you
are,
can do.
this has a genetic component,
Right. Right.
and you had, there's a good chance you got this. So someday you're going to pick up that Russian roulette pistol, basically, because you are going to get offered drugs and alcohol, period. You're going to.
Right.
And I want you to know what you're doing when you pick that up. You know, I didn't know that really when I was a kid, because I'm drinking and stuff was not the drugging, but the drinking was normalized. You know, I didn't really see anybody. I don't really remember many alcoholics around, people that got angry and dirty when they drank and that kind of thing. You know, I saw mostly happiness, you know, and people, you know, having a few beers and doing it the right way, really. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with alcohol. There's nothing wrong with
Right.
having a few drinks. There's nothing wrong with it at all.
Right.
And until you do it the way I did it. But that is my biggest fear. And there's you know, the step one says that I admitted I was powerless over alcohol, and it doesn't say and, there's a hyphen in there. Admitted we were powerless over alcohol, hyphen, that our lives had become unmanageable. Two different concepts there: the unmanageability in my life and the powerlessness of my life. And there's probably not a single thing in my life that's got me more in touch with powerlessness as raising children.
I got 4 of them, 3 girls. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And my final question is, what are you afraid of that you can control?
That I can control. Well, I don't know if I have an answer to that question. My life is not fear-based anymore. One of the things about working with lots of new people, like doing this sponsorship gig, which I take seriously, and I believe it's a huge honor. I do thank this God I don't understand for allowing me to do that. And this is not a toot my own horn. I think it's part of the process of what's given to me, but I've had phenomenal success. I mean, like, you know, I've been sober 7 years, and I take people down there to that cabin and do what we call the 5th step, which is like the confessional thing. And I just did my 21st one down there, which is just crazy. It shouldn't happen. It just, but God keeps on sending me dudes that are ready. But to watch what happens is you get this mirror effect, right? When I look at him, I see me. And as he talks about what's going on in his life or way he feels, you know, I'll feel, you know, it's like, me too, me too, me too. And so people will come in, and then one thing about that is that fear-driven life, something I'm afraid of that I can control. Man, I don't know what I can control. That might be a bigger thing, is that I'm not sure I'm in control of much. There was a time in my life where I thought I was driving. There's another little acronym, a little saying thing about this higher power thing. And it says, you know, it's like being on a tandem bicycle. I'm like on a tent, and I use the word God because it rolls out easy. You know, and one of the biggest miracles in 12-step recovery is that we allow you to develop your own concept of a higher power. The part B of that is that we don't reject each other for what we chose, right? So we can talk, and somebody can come up and say to me, is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior? And even though I'm not really there, I say yes, because I think they're speaking the same language as me. It's like if somebody come up to me and said, hey, would you like some aqua? You know, no, wrong word. You know, I don't want that. No, it's just bringing me water. So riding on a tandem bicycle with God, you know, he'll help me steer, but he won't pedal. I have to do the pedaling, and I find my life goes better when I let go of the wheel and just say, okay, take me. Where are we going today? You know, The old Dan needed to just park the bike and get out, and I needed to see the map, you know. Hey, buddy, let's stop. You got to show me where we're going, or else I ain't going, you know. And today I really am able to just let go of the wheel and pedal and watch what scenery passes by me. I guess, you know, to some extent is I do have some fear wrapped around about this self-employment thing. There's some insane fear that comes up every time I walk in a job. It's like there's an anxiety that I get that I can't seem to let go of I have this doubts of whether if I'm going to be able to do this or not. You know, I don't, it's word is slipping me, but it's not rational.
Right.
Because I go in and I do it and I do it well. And then I go tomorrow and next week I'll be doing something like it. And I'm going the way there and I'm afraid I'm going to fail. And so there's some fear about whether this self-employed gig is going to work out or not. But, you know, my fallback position is that, heck, I didn't pick it. And there's another one, you know, God didn't bring me here just to drop me off. You know, and he didn't put me on this bus to have some stop down the road and here you go, Dan, that's as far as we're taking you. So I fully expect that the universe is supporting me today.
Good. I like that. Hearing you talk about it, to me, and I'm not particularly religious at all. So to me, it's we're moving through life, but somebody's directing. So nobody can get you going, but you're going no matter what. It's where you turn, left or right. Somebody's leading you in the right space.
Yeah, to have that intuition in that, like that internal compass needle, and like to know which way to go with it. And sometimes, you know, this might seem a little crazy. The movie The Matrix, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's seen that, you know, and it's the blue pill and the red pill, and I don't even know which one is which. But I feel to some extent I took that one pill, the right one, that allows you to move on a different plane in the world. And it's like being able to dodge the bullets and stuff, you know, and it kind of feels that way sometimes because I'm like, whoa, boy, I'm glad that didn't hit me, you know, and I can just keep on walking, you know, and cool stuff is what ends up landing in my lap time after time. I walk in the grocery stores and I walk around, man, I see a lot of lost people. I can see it in their eyes that they're just, they're not enjoying this go around on this big blue marble we're getting. And you can see the stress and you can see the anger and the worry and you can almost feel it. It's like palpable when you move around through the world. And that's like having taken that other pill. I don't feel that. I feel it on you. That's why we started that 12 steps for everybody here in Louisville. My sponsor has written a 12-step book. It's called 12 Steps Spiritual Recovery. And again, like when I came to AA and they told me I was spiritually sick, you know, actually what they said is they were spiritually sick. You know, we always keep it on me, right? Not you are. There's nothing that runs people off faster than you are them and should on them and stuff. But and I thought that meant that I wasn't participating in religion, you know, and I was offended, even though I wasn't participating. I was still, who are you to tell me? You know, what I come to believe today is that, as I said earlier, you know, my spirit was born free and pure. That baby out there in that delivery room comes out as pure as anything there is in life, you know, and then you start down the path of life and that spirit that's inside of us, that essence, the soul, the thing that is that like my metaphysical fingerprint. Nobody's is exactly like me, right? Exactly. It starts getting stepped on by various things in life, whatever it is. And I start having my spirit stepped on. And before long, my very spirit was ill. And that's what I feel like I've done here is I've healed my spirit. The 12 steps has allowed me to heal this illness in me that is my spirit that got sick as a result of living in this world. And, you know, nobody was trying to hurt Dan. There was nobody out there going, all right, let's get him. We'll mess him up this time. But nonetheless, that's what life is. You walk through life. And as we said earlier, you have difficulties and how you handle them. And, you know, the teaching that you get on how to handle them, you know, it's one of the things as a father today that I believe I'm really good at is helping my kids work through, not carrying them through their difficulties, right, but helping them navigate them rather than, you know, and I had a father and mother that helped me navigate problems pretty well. I really am blessed with them. My dad lives with me now. He's passed through here a couple of times. He's 84 years old. He's had my back forever. He's taught me how to do everything I know how to do, all this handyman stuff and all this, all the woodworking is a result of him. And he's had my back. And my story, and when I got home that night, finally, after breaking in that house, I was in the backyard, and a guy come over here and broke the windows and beat the heck out of my house with a baseball bat. And I had a new girlfriend here. She was scared to death, but there was kids, and she called my parents, and I'm out on the loose like some rabid animal in the streets trying to figure out what I'm going to do now because I'm caught. And I kept on coming home and seeing the police lights on the street and disappearing and coming back and disappearing. Finally, it cooled down. And I went out there, and I didn't know what to do. This was before I had a sponsor. I didn't know what to do. And I sat underneath a pine tree in my backyard, just on my butt with my knees up and my head down on my arms. And I didn't know what to do. And I heard my back door come open. And I looked up, and here come my dad. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know the dude beat my house up. I saw the commotion and all the lights on, and it was around 2 a.m. or something. And he come out carrying 2 big buckets. And he started down the stepping stone path that leads to where we carry out the garbage. And which was going to be like 10 feet from me. And I was underneath that tree, wadded up, trying to be as small as I could possibly be, because there was no way to move without him seeing me. And I heard, I still today, I heard those buckets hit the ground. And what it was is all the glass he had been sweeping up from that guy. But I heard those buckets hit the ground, and he said, "Dan, is that you? Are you okay? Are you hurt?" And I said, "Well, I'm okay, and I'm not hurt. And my eyes are closed." And the next thing I felt was him sit down underneath that tree next to me and put his hand around me, put his arm around me. And he said, I don't know why I remember this stuff, and I don't know why he said it, but I will never forget it. He said, "Let's go in, take a shower, hit the sack. We'll deal with this tomorrow. It's all going to be okay." And he's had my back forever. And when Mom died a few years ago, and he was living alone, and he was talking about needing a change and didn't like living in the house my mom passed away in, and we made an arrangement to be roommates. So I get to give back to him today, right? That's part of this deal too, is you know, that's also biblical, and that's other things, but it's just the right thing to do, that I get to have my dad is one of my best friends, and I get to give back to him today, and be the son that he always has deserved.
Your story is wonderful. You know, I love it. And with that, how can people find you? Social media, website, podcast? Where can people find you?
My podcast is called the Spiritual Underground Podcast. It's named that's the name of my AA home group. We initially were a group of people starting a podcast, and after a little while, I was the only one holding the ball, because the podcast is a lot of work, ain't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And you know, it's all fun to sit here on the microphones and run your mouth, but when it comes to the rest of the stuff that you got to do, so that's why it's a Spiritual Underground Podcast. You can find it at all the podcast players, all the platforms. There is a email and it's really long too, but it's dan@spiritualunderground.org. dan@spiritualunderground.org. And I'm always looking for people, guests on my podcast. I'd invite anybody to listen to them. They are a little bit longer format. I would, you know, anybody listening out there who would like, one of the other thing I say at the end of my podcast is, thank you for allowing me to participate in my recovery in this manner today, because that's what I have to do. I have to participate in my recovery. I can't, it's not going to just rub off on me because I'm hanging around and being good. I have to do things. I have to pedal. And anybody out there, and anybody that's in the recovery world, and I invite others that have gotten recovered by other means too. My thing is primarily 12-step, but I invite people that have recovered because I'm interested in those stories too. I know there's other ways to get sober than the 12 steps. But this is the only one I know. You know, this is the one that worked for me. And I invite people to come in and tell their stories on on their journey to recovery, whether if it was through the 12 steps or not. So if anybody out there wants to do that, I would invite people to contact me. And I got a couple other little things, but that's really what I'm here for, is to talk about the Spiritual Underground podcast.
I will put all that information in the episode notes. This has been fantastic. Hearing your story, you lived it. You communicated so well. So I'm going to end this with a quote. And I read your bio, so I was interested. I kind of try to get an idea of who I'm going to talk to. And then I like quotes, so I just kind of search around and find. And what I found, and this might fit for you, it may not, but tell me what you think. Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. That is J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. Wow. I was wondering, it sounds like a 12-step quote.
Okay. All right. So it worked. All right.
I like it.
And
it's interesting. There's all these teachers with parallel messages, all the way
Right.
from the writers of that kind of fiction, and, have got the same message. It's really all the same message. It's
That's
just
true.
wrapped up
It's
and
everywhere.
tied with a different color bow, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All the world's religions are that, all the everything. It's really, it's help others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And be good.
Exactly. Be a good person and take care of yourself and your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you very much, Dan.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it. It's fun.
Oh, so did I. Yeah, I enjoy these. That's why I love doing this.
Gives me a buzz. I get high today, in a healthy way by doing these things.
That's good. Me too. I've really grown to enjoy talking to people. Yeah. Thank you for doing this. Thank you to all the listeners for listening to the Men of the Prize podcast, where your inner monologue is revealed. I'll see you next week. Have a great day.